Hello, in this video I will show you how to add blood droplets to your game and how to push the enemy on attack. This will make the game much more fun to look at, and the pushing enemy feature can add additional game mechanic to the game. You can see how the game looks like without those features on the left side and with those features on the right side, and I think you can agree with me that with the blood droplets and pushing it's much more fun. At first we have to import the droplet animation, and as usual you can find the link to the animation in the description of this video. I will create new sprites folder in the damage system folder for that, but in your project you can use whatever folder you want. In this sprites folder we will import the first droplet animation. Then we have to right click on it and hit the sprite actions and apply paper to the texture settings, and also in the sprite actions choose the extract sprites. We will choose the grid extract method and set the grid size to 100 and 100 pixels, and we can click the extract button. Now we have to select all of these sprites and create the flipbook from it, and we can name it FB_blood. Let's check how the flipbook looks like. So yeah, I think it looks great. We will have to spam the droplet in the game, therefore we have to go one folder up and create new blueprint class, and from the next menu we will choose the actor. And we can name the actor BPA_blood. We can now open the actor and add new components there to show the droplet. We will click on the add button and add new paper flipbook. In the right menu we will choose the FB blood as a source flipbook, and the blood droplet will appear in the game. We have to rotate it because we are working on the top-down game, and we can start working on the logic for the droplet. So let's open the event graph, delete everything except the begin play, and add new actions there. The first action will be set translucent sort priority, and we are using that because we want to show the droplet above everything else. It should never be visible behind the skeleton or something like that. And we will set the translucent priority to number 1. Number 0 is default for all the actors, and by setting it to number 1 we ensure that it's always visible above them. When the droplet appears in the game, it will start playing the animation, but once the animation is over we want to stop the animation and show the droplet on the ground. We therefore have to wait here until the animation played once, and we will use the delay action for that. For the duration input variable we will use the flipbook length, so get the paper flipbook and call its get flipbook length action and connect it to the duration. Once the droplet animation is over, we want to keep the droplet visible on the ground, and for that we need a freeze frame. So let's go to the sprites and choose some frame you like, and create new flipbook from that and call it FB blood static, and we will simply use that as a static image of the droplet. Now let's go back to the blueprint and add the set flipbook action, and as a new flipbook we will use the static flipbook we have just created. Now we want to stop the animation from the performance reasons, so let's add the stop paper flipbook action. And the last thing we want to ensure is that the droplet is always behind all our characters. It means like it will not appear on top of them and so on. And to do that we will use the set translucent sort priority again, but this time we will use the number -1, which means that it's always behind everything. We also have to set the target for this set translucent sort priority, so you can drag and drop the paper flipbook there or copy it from existing code, and if you compile it now it will work as expected. Talking about set translucent sort priority, it only works when the material of the flipbook is set to translucent sprite. So let's go to the paper flipbook and change the material to translucent unlit sprite material. Now we have to spam this actor every time there is a hit in the game. If you are working on your own game, it might be different place, but for our game it's a AN hit animation notifier, and in the end we have the take damage function called there. We will add the spawn actor from class action right after the take damage action, and for the class we will set our BPA blood actor. And for the spawn transform we will get the location of our hit socket, so let's find it in the code and copy paste it below the spawn actor and connect it to the spawn transform. Now we can try playing the game for the first time and see how it behaves. And if we hit the skeleton we can see that the animation plays, but it's super slow, so let's make it faster. We have to go to our sprites folder, and there we can find out the FB blood animation and open it. And here we will double the frames per second from 15 to 30. So let's go to the game and see how it looks like. And when we attack the skeleton we see that the animation is much better. Another thing to fix is that the animation is too long. It finishes when no drops are left there, but after that the drops appear on the floor. We will fix that by going back to the animation and on the right menu removing the last few frames from the animation. When playing the game after this change, we can see that the issue is not there anymore and it looks more natural. Last thing we can do is removing the droplets after some time, so we don't end up with too many actors on the scene. To do that, we will go to our blood actor and we will add another delay function and set it, for example, to 10 seconds. And this will be the time after which we will destroy this actor. So in the completed part, we will simply call destroy actor. And by destroying this blood actor, the droplets will disappear from the game. We can again test it out in the game, and after the fight, the droplets should start disappearing slowly. And we can see here that it works as expected. So this is all for the first feature we wanted to implement in this video, and the second one is the enemy push on attack. We will implement this feature in our damage system, and there we will create new function called PushAway, which will basically push the enemy away as we attack it. If you are joining us in the middle of this tutorial, don't worry, you can call this function from whenever you want, the logic will remain the same. This function will have single input variable called fromActor, and the type will be actor object difference, and it will be the actor from which we are pushing the enemy away. So in most cases it will be our main character. Now we have to get the owner of this actor component, because that's actually the character we will be pushing away. And we also need to cast this actor owner from the actor to character, so we can access character specific functions. And we will call the launch character function, which allows us to set the velocity for the character and launch it a certain direction. If we hit the character multiple times, we don't want the velocities to sum up, so we will just set XY override to prevent that. Now we have to compute the velocity vector. The vector will go from the fromActor variable, which is actually my character, to the location of the owner of this actor component, which is actually our skeleton. So let's get the actor location of fromActor input variable to get the location of our main hero, and then get the owner of this actor component, which is our skeleton, and also get the actor location of this owner. To compute the vector between these two locations, we will use the getDirection action. The from input variable will be set to the get actor location of the fromActor, and the get owner location will be set into to input variable. The get unit direction returns a vector between 0 and 1, and we need to multiply it to actually put additional force into the launch velocity. So we will add the multiply action there, and we will play with the numbers until we are basically satisfied with the result. We can, for example, use the numbers 500 and 500 as initial values. Now we have to call this pushAway function from somewhere, and we will use our takeDamage function for that. But again, if you are joining this series in the middle, you can use any place where it makes sense to push the enemy away from. So we will make some space here after the first branch, which checks whether the enemy is dead, because we don't want to push away enemy which is dead. And in the false part of this branch, we will add the pushAway function and connect it to that false part. And as a fromActor, we will use the cost by taking from the takeDamage input variable. And again, this cost by in most cases is just our main hero. When we try playing the game now, we can see that the push function works, but it doesn't push enemy that far. As I said, you have to play with different values of that multiply action, and you can also override the Z coordinate, but in that case you have to check the Z override, otherwise the game would not work properly if you hit the enemy multiple times in a row. So if you try to set the values to 1000, 1000 and 100, the push works, but maybe that's too far, so in the end I ended up with 750 for both variables and 100 for Z variable. And this is how the game looks like with these values, and I have to say I'm quite happy with that. So this is all for today's episode, and in the next one I will show you how to highlight the item and how to rotate the character based on the mouse pointer position. Please subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Bye.